Welcome, friends of the show. We are back with another episode of the Ferris Wheel Serious Rock Talk podcast.
Ooh, all right.
A big thanks for your emails, suggestions, and your support on our social media platforms. Continue to email us at seriousrocktalk@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. Listen to a new show every week. Just tune in each Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. New York City time on Cap City Beats, located at www.capcitybeats.ca. Okay, buckle up for some serious rock talk. And what is there not to like about music? That is my question. And today I'm so excited to be here with two fine gentlemen who are renowned and revered in their own professional and career. And the man to the left of me was known to be doing the original Ocean's 11 with Marlon Brando and Ricardo Montalban.
That goes even pre-Sinatra. I got kicked out because at one point I said, "Con!" I realized I was way ahead of myself with Ricardo Montalban. Yes, Dr. Ian Clark.
And the man to the right of me who actually got Don Quixote very upset in his library by taking books that didn't belong to him.
Stephen Wheeler.
You have that classical reference there.
It is a classical reference. And here we are today, and this is a topic that I wanted to discuss with the two of you, because who else am I going to talk to about this? Because no one else will understand me.
Sure.
Is band members who are bigger than the lead singer. And I want to start off with a small little anecdote I wrote, and it starts off like this. Bands are iconic in music history, and for whatever reason, we tend to fall in love with them. We get inspired by them, and in some cases, we look up to them. Each member is unique or different in their own way. Some tend to stick out in their talent, character, or something they did which was either good, bad, or ugly. In most cases, it's a lead singer who takes the lead and therefore is known as a frontman. But have you ever taken a look and asked yourself if there is a band member who is bigger than the lead singer? There are a few that are, and there are a few that are duos which are inseparable, i.e. the Glimmer Twins, the Toxic Twins, and Billy and Dusty. Let me take you on a magical...
The Bearded Twins.
The Bearded Twins. Let me take you on a magical history tour.
Ooh, nice.
On who's on first and who is your favorite from that band. So I'm going to name off some bands.
All right.
Shoot off who I think is the guy that is more popular. Then I want to know, between the two of you, which is your favorite band member of that band.
Sure.
All right.
To jump in, if the lead singer is a woman, forget it. She owns the band. If
Grace Slick.
Yeah, really. If any, Debbie Harry, if you can, anybody listening to
Chrissy
this right
Hine.
now, Chrissy Hine.
Susanna Hoffs.
Sure. It's impossible. You can't get around it. They're the most famous member. People, if you can think of one, email me and I will send you a free pair of socks.
All right. Previously worn. AC/DC. Yeah. So Bon Scott, Brian Johnson are the lead singers. But Angus Young is the poster boy for this band. But what we tend to forget is that Malcolm Young was the brains behind their successful career.
Yeah.
Okay. So obviously, to me, Angus Young is the prominent one that everyone knows with his little schoolboy outfit.
Yeah,
that was a gimmick, and it stands out to this day.
Sure.
If I had to choose a band member from that band who I really like, I'm gonna give it to Malcolm, just because I think he was the brains behind it all. Yeah. So, Ian, who is your favorite?
Well, I'm not gonna go. I'm just gonna say who I think is more famous in the band. And I don't know if he's more famous than the band. I bet you more people know AC/DC than Young, the Young brothers. Like I just do. I just think the band's more famous. You know what I mean? That's me.
Then so not the Young brothers. You're just saying the band itself.
The band itself's more famous.
Yeah, they've been around since '73.
Yeah.
Wheels. Do you have a preferred member?
Yeah, I'm a Angus Young kind of guy, because I remember the first time I saw a video clip. Like when I listened to them on the radio, it was a band thing. Like you didn't pick up on what, but when we started getting much music and Music Plus in Canada, you can take your eyes off Young. Like in a video, it was just this insane ball of energy.
Yeah.
So visually speaking, I'll say Angus.
Angus? Okay. Aerosmith. So we know Steven Tyler is the lead singer and Joe Perry is the lead guitarist. Don't forget about Brad Whitford, Tom Hamilton, and Joey Kramer. But the Toxic Twins are almost glued to the hip. You could argue that they are inseparable, but to me, Joe Perry has always stood out.
Okay.
You're like,
I'm trying to think, should I be nice or not?
no, you don't have to be nice.
I'm not gonna. I never have been, but actually I have. But no, for me, it's Steven Tyler's band. Yeah, he's the face on it. He's the lead singer. I don't think they're more famous than Steve. Steve, with all the show TV crap that he does, I say he's Aerosmith. He encapsulated Aerosmith. He just does.
And your favorite of that band, would you say?
No, it was Steve Tyler, I guess. He's a great singer, by the way.
Yeah. Wheels?
To me, Perry's the mechanic. The car doesn't run without him.
I'm going with Perry. I've always liked Perry. I just find he's like a stable guy. Like he's just there. He's kind of like the Mick Mars of the band. You know, he's there. You know he's there, and without him,
it would fall apart.
Where is he? Right?
See, to me, if you asked me 20 years ago, I would have said, like, who is that band without this singer? But now, as I'm aging, as I'm listening more to the music, I tend to agree with you. Like, without Perry, there's no soul.
Yeah, when he was gone for a bit, it was kind of weird.
Yeah, it was all
Well,
flash,
they need each
not
other.
a lot of substance.
They need each
Yeah,
They do.
Exactly.
And you said they weren't really that good until
They were
Run DMC
horrible.
revived them in '86.
Yeah, they were just so drugged out. They gave terrible shows, no new albums. They almost literally died. So yeah,
all right. The next band I put here is Ian's favorite band, the Rolling Stones.
Rolling Bones.
Welcome to the Glimmer Twins, and you can't have one without the other. Similar to Aerosmith, both Keith and Mick are inseparable. Mick is a lead singer, but Richards, in my view, is bigger than Mick. That's the way I see it.
Good Lord.
And I know who your favorite is Charlie Watts, before you even answer.
But I'm sticking to this topic. I would say the Rolling Stone is Mick Jagger. I mean, he's the most famous member. He always will be. You can't get around it. He looks like a rock star. He co-writes the songs. He has the body of a 19-year-old. I don't get this guy. He's like a freakish that way. But listen, I know if Keith croaked, which is quite possible, it'd be over. But if Mick went, it's over immediately. He is the Rolling Stones.
So your favorite Stone is?
Well, not quite favorite, but I'm just saying. I'm trying to think of who's bigger than the band. He's bigger than the band.
Well, he is the band.
He's the band. He had one or two successful albums. Most are bad, so he can kind of do it in his own. He's performed with everybody from, I don't know, Bono and U2 on. He's done a lot of stuff. It's Mick Jagger. I'm not really in love with him, but hey, this is a gig.
I know he always liked Charlie Watts.
Yeah, I like Watts. Solid.
Yeah. Wheels?
I'm more of a Keith Richards, just based on the fact that if you listen to their solo albums, Keith Richards can actually produce a decent solo album, whereas
True.
Mick Jagger's stuff is horrible.
Yeah, it's pretty bad stuff.
And he is responsible for one of the greatest musical Frankenstein
I know what you're gonna
monster
say.
with Bowie.
Yeah.
That was just like what was it? Singing in the Street? No,
Dancing in the Street.
Dancing in the
It's a
Street.
Martha Van. Was it Martha?
Martha Reeves and the Vandellas.
Yeah,
That was for, in quotes, charity, but that won't get you off.
Oh, goodness.
Nice try.
Guns N' Roses. Axl Rose is the lead singer, and Slash is bigger than the lead singer. He never took a break with touring. You know, he went with Michael Jackson. He joined a supergroup in Velvet Revolver, started his own band called Slash's Snake Pit, and then he was with Miles Kennedy and Conspirators. If you needed to put a glue guy that held this band together and kept the peace between Axl and Slash, I think Duff McKagan deserves a little bit of a shout out because he was always the quiet one.
Yeah, he's
that
like the
kinda just-
UN of the Guns
He
N'
pretty
Roses.
well
nice.
he was like the mediator between Slash and Axl. It's like, okay, so Slash wants to do this. All right, I'll go back to Axl. Axl, Slash, all right, all right, and he goes back. So yeah, my favorite Guns N' Roses guy. I have nothing against Axl. I think he's fantastic. I loved his voice back in the '80s. Yes, obviously with age it's changed, but I'm still gonna stay with Slash as my favorite GNR guy. And Steve Adler is a close second. I miss Steve Adler.
Well, I'm going to agree with this for the, sticking to the subject that he's more, Slash is bigger than the band. he's more prominent, more well-known, especially to younger people, than GNR. He is.
That's true, yeah.
Especially young people, not us, but in their 20s with no Slash. He's everywhere with his hat.
So everyone likes Slash around the table?
Yeah, well, you just have to
Yeah.
look at what happened to GNR when Slash was
Yeah.
out for a few
Sure.
years. Like, basically nothing got done.
Yeah, nothing happened.
The next one is Ian's other favorite band, as he calls it a business, Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
Lead singer and brains behind this band is without a doubt Paul Stanley. And he created something unique and took rock music and was able to make it a business. And he had huge help from Gene Simmons, who is larger than life and bigger than a lead singer. His tongue alone has its own area code. So I'm going to say Gene is the guy that everyone thinks of.
Yeah, I agree with that. Gene Simmons is, well, literally owns it. He owns Kiss. He owns the name, the trademark. He owns the faces. He owns the makeup. What?
I'm an Ace guy. No.
Yeah,
No.
again, it's not my favorite. It doesn't matter.
Peter Criss.
He's more
Yeah.
famous in the band.
I agree, unfortunately, yeah.
Well, there's nothing unfortunate about it. I
I mean,
like
it's
Paul.
just a horrible person. It's just it's
Yeah.
too bad.
I like
Well,
Paul Stanley. I think Paul, if I had to choose a favorite Kiss member, Aerosmith, you're going to go with
I
Tyler.
would say favorite is Joe Perry.
Okay. The Rolling Stones, I was right with Charlie Watts.
Well, I'm going to go with Richards.
Really?
He's the one guy's dead.
Oh, okay. Guns N' Roses, we all agreed on Slash.
Yeah, Slash.
All right, who's your favorite Kiss member?
Oh, I would go with maybe Freely, I guess. He's fun.
All
I
right.
don't know.
he
He's
looks like a nice guy.
He's a nice guy.
I'm going to go with Peter Criss because he's Italian. Wheeler?
Oh, for the same reason, Ace. Like, I've seen his social media posting. He just looks like a
Yeah,
like a
you
fun
wouldn't
guy.
mind knowing him as a guy, as a friend.
All right, so now we've
Yeah,
covered all
thank
the
you.
bases. Now we're good.
We're good.
Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Red.
Okay. Anthony Kiedis is the lead singer, and everyone always defaults to Michael Balzeri, better known as Flea. He is definitely known more than the singer. He is bigger than the band
I
himself.
agree with that. Flea's the biggest.
Well, yeah. Plus, he's Noodles in Back to the Future.
Yes, he's Noodles in Back to the Future.
Didn't know that.
Now, Ian, who is your favorite Red Hot Chili
Be
Pepper?
Flea.
Flea.
Well, same thing.
Yeah, mine's Chad Smith. Okay, moving on. I like Chad Smith. I'm not going to lie. I can't choose a guitarist because it was a revolving door.
Well, exactly. Yeah.
You know, they brought back one 3 times. Jesus.
From dead.
Now, here's Ian's other favorite band.
Yeah.
The Who. Roger Daltrey is without a doubt the lead singer and frontman, and his vocals alone
Wow.
make him notice. But Pete Townsend is the brains, and he is bigger than the lead singer of this band, in my honest opinion.
Oh, boy.
He is the musical genius. You can't take it away from him.
No, but I'd say Daltrey is probably more famous pound for pound, people, in my opinion. And because he's the lead singer, he in the 70s, good-looking little guy, beautiful hair.
He still looks good for his age.
Yeah, really,
yeah.
he must be 70s.
He's
so it's-
built.
Yeah, he works out. I would say Dalton, because of Tommy and because of his Listomania, his film roles.
Oh yeah.
I would say he's better known pound for pound than Townsend. And 2, he'd be my favorite of that band.
Oh, really? That would be Keith Moon.
Yeah, but he's just, Moon is so long gone, it's hard to remember him. He was fun though, Keith Moon.
I'm going to go with Daltrey as my favorite.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Keith Moon, just because he was the spirit of rock and roll.
Yeah.
Poor Pete. No one liked Pete in the group. We're sorry, Pete. We like you anyways, but you're just not.
He's a
know.
horrible
But it
person.
is.
What are you
But if
talking about?
there was a documentary series on PBS on the advancement of recording music,
Yeah.
and Townsend is hyper important from 71 till
Oh,
77.
yeah,
like,
with the sequencers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Like-
I know. Which doesn't make him a nice guy.
no,
All right. Here's another band that at one point in time Wheeler thought they were such vile human beings, but he was mixing them up with Van Morrison.
Yeah.
It's actually Van Halen.
Really?
All right. This is what I came up with. Okay. The band is named after you. He is one of the greatest guitarists of all time. He did work with Michael Jackson. He went through 3 lead singers, and Eddie was bigger than the lead singers, but only 2 out of 3 of them, in my opinion, he was bigger than. He was not bigger than Diamond Dave. In my opinion, he was bigger than Hagar, and he was bigger than Gary Sharon. In their prime, Dave and Eddie were the iconic 80s duo.
true.
True.
Okay?
Yeah.
So I'm going to say David was the band, and then Eddie took over when David left, and it was the other two guys.
Yeah, I agree with that. Dave was the band when he was there.
He was.
Yeah, he was Van Halen.
And he is my favorite Van Halen
Yeah,
member.
that's true.
And Ian, yours?
Yeah.
Oh, you go with Diamond Dave?
Yeah, Diamond Dave.
Wow,
Again,
I'm impressed.
Again, not likable, but I'm not going to have, a date with him. The idea being that he was Van Halen. He had the looks, the hair, the chest, the shaved chest. He looked like an 80s hair guy, and he did a good job.
Wheeler?
I agree. I'm the same because, frankly, without him, I mean, I think Van Halen would have. I mean, they would have been in history, but they would not have been the legends in their own lifetime that we remember when we were.
And he's on their best albums, I think.
Exactly. Yeah.
The early stuff, sure.
Yeah.
Plus, the guy was the human equivalent of TNT.
Yeah, really.
Oh, yeah, he was like a time bomb.
Oh, yeah.
All right, Led Zeppelin.
Right.
Robert Plant was an iconic figure in classic rock, and his vocals were spot on. He was part of one of the greatest rock bands of all time. If you had to guess, Jimmy Page's lead guitarist was bigger than Plant, even though it was Page and Plant. This is from I forget the guy. We follow him on TikTok, but he does a lot of reviews on stuff like this. And I kind of had to agree with him, but I'm a little bit biased. I like Jimmy Page, and he says that Page was probably bigger than Plant. And I'm like, well, maybe, yeah, I guess, because he did do a lot of the music writing. And plus, he came from the Yardbirds, I believe.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say Page. And if I'm going to pick a favorite, it's going to be Page.
This is a real tough one.
And it is a tough one because I love the whole band. Like, believe me, when people say, if you could bring back one person, bring back John Bonham, and this band would have still been going till today. They would have been competing with the Rolling Stones to
Well,
see.
he used to call them not a guitar band, but a drum band. He used to call it Zeppelin a drum band.
Oh, he knew how to hit them hard, man.
Sure.
So
I don't know. I mean, I guess from the gut, I'm just gonna say Jimmy Page both ways. My favorite because he's pretty well the composer. I know he didn't write all the words, and bigger than the band. I bet you more young people know Jimmy Page than Robert Plant.
And right now, Plant is more prominent with his solo career, his podcast.
Alison Krauss and all that
Yeah.
stuff.
See, me, I completely agree with you guys, but I have to say I find Plant a more interesting person. Page, when you hear the interviews, when you see him, he's so drawn back. He's an introvert, so it makes it.
He is.
I mean, it makes him a genius and everything, but it's just if you want to have a beer, I'd go have a beer with Plant.
Yeah, he's
And,
I
charming.
think I know why, because I think I know a guy that has a similar name to that. So I think I get that. All right, fair enough. Motley Crue. Well, it was created by Nikki Sixx, who, as the lead, had the concept and recruited his crew to become one of the classic rock's notable acts in hard rock. Vince Neil was the last piece of the puzzle that came in, but the popularity of Tommy Lee by far comes to mind when people mention the band. You could argue saying, well, Nicky's more prominent, or you could argue and say Tommy's more prominent. I think in their prime, Mick was always there, and everyone knew Mick was a stable force, and that was a career. When he went in there because he was looking for a full-time gig, and that was his job. And that's great. I love Mick Mars, and he retired. They got a guy named John 5 filling in. That's kind of interesting. It's going to be weird to see them tour without him.
5 and 6.
John 5, Nikki 6. So I'm gonna agree to say that Tommy Lee is probably the prominent one. Nikki 6 probably a close second. Vince may have had a run in the beginning, but I think as the years went by, Tommy Lee.
Yeah, I'm with you in both too.
Yeah.
And my favorite,
it's just the way it works out.
probably going to be
Oh,
Lee.
yeah. People who are not interested in music still know who Tommy Lee is.
Because he made some good movies too.
But he's my favorite Motley Crue member. Ian?
Yeah, same.
Same.
Foo Fighters. Lead genius is Dave Grohl, who pretty well did it all. It's no known secret the first album was written by Grohl musically and lyrically. Obviously, he called a little help from his friends and was able to form one of the greatest garage bands of all time. That's my writing.
I was going to say.
With the emergence of the second drummer, Taylor Hawkins, because he filled in for William Goldstein, and the mentorship of Grohl, it's hard to argue that he became very popular and memorable, not only with his drumming, but his ability to sing and his unforgettable stage presence. Not only was he the most popular one, he is also deeply missed.
That's
by
true.
me, for sure.
Right.
I'm going to have to say that as much as I love Dave Grohl, I'm going to probably say that Taylor was pretty well prominent. Seen him in concert twice.
Yeah.
You kind of, it was always, and I think to me, Grohl doesn't need the spotlight. To him, it doesn't, whether he's in it or not, it doesn't matter. He writes his music and he does his thing. And I think he's very humble that way, and I think he's very appreciative of what he's capable of doing. And he always promotes his guys. And I think whenever a lead singer does that, I think that's, whenever the frontman does that they promote them first, to me, you're up there. I've seen a lot of concerts, and here we go. Perfect example. Bryan Adams never mentions himself. He always mentions Keith. He also mentions Pat. He always mentions the guys. Didn't care about himself. Cares more about his boys. And I think that's very important, you know?
Yeah, like an old school guy, yeah.
He's
Sinatra
very old school.
used to introduce every song Sinatra sang live. He'd introduce the writers of the song. Can you imagine that? Because he's an old school guy.
Yeah.
I didn't write this. This is from Jimmy Van Heusen, and it goes like this. I mean, what a decent human being.
So I'm going to take a favorite. I'm going to tie it and say Grohl and Taylor, I don't know, to me, like the Glimmer twin. Like, they're inseparable. They were inseparable.
Yes, yeah. I don't know. I'm going with Dave Grohl on both sides. By the way, Dave Grohl, I guess most people out there know he was with Nirvana. You can hardly believe, if you were at that time following Nirvana, that this nondescript drummer way in the back of Kurt Cobain would become the lead on this huge, as we said, garage band. It's almost unbelievable that the transformation is Christ-like, that this happened. It's like 0 to hero in 2 years. Amazing.
The best quote they said is that they took the garage and they brought it with them.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
It makes sense.
I'd call them the bearded twins because they always had a stumble. Like,
they both had beard. Well, they even had, like, Taylor Hawkins had that mustache at one time.
That's
It was
true.
Kind of,
Yeah,
It was
yeah.
kind of funny because he got that dirty blonde hair.
Yeah,
It kind of
He
dirty.
was a sewer rat, yeah.
Rush.
Oh, please.
The trio out of Burlington, Ontario, from
all
serves me
places.
correctly. Ian, I think I'm correct on that. Is
I
it
think so,
Burlington?
yeah.
I didn't know that. I
Yeah,
would've said
Burlington.
North.
It's not hard to realize that they're talented musicians, and that Geddy Lee, and their second drummer, known as Professor Neil Peart, stole the show. Everyone knows it's Lee's voice, but it seems to be that, Neil Peart, or Peart, how you pronounce it, was prominent with his, 86-piece drums kit that he had. I don't really have a favorite band member in this one. I don't have anybody.
No, I don't think anybody really does. I think it depends. There's no way you can ignore Lee's voice.
Alex, like, it's a three-headed monster. You cut one head off, the thing dies. And I don't know. I don't think Lee's prominent. I think it's a three-headed beast, and that's just the way you handle it.
I think their first drummer after that he went to Platinum Blonde.
Something like that, yeah.
The original?
The original drummer, he went to another Canadian band.
Oh, yeah.
No, not Platinum Blonde.
It was Platinum Blonde, but you're right.
Was it Platinum Blonde?
It wasn't, but he did leave.
And he went to another Canadian band who's just as good. Well, they're good, but I'll get it after. It'll come to me.
Ladies and gentlemen, you might have sensed we're not big Rush fans on this show. We don't criticize. We recognize the musicianship, but we're not rushing out to buy any.
I got 3 of their albums on 2 are the same, and 2112 is okay.
It is, yeah. No, it's one of those things you have in your collection you don't listen to more than once a year.
I bought it just to silence the critics. That way people wouldn't say, "Oh, Kennedy, you're such an a-hole."
Well, they still say that, though.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
I know.
All right.
Well, they say, "Oh, you don't support Canadian music." Shut up. Black Sabbath. Ozzy Osbourne was the face and the voice of the band, but with Tony Iommi being a mainstay in the band, and with the change of lead singers, he's held the fort.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no. It wasn't. Ozzy's not that stable to hold anything, let alone a drink. My God, the poor guy.
So, but if I had to choose someone I liked, I like Ozzy. I do, man. I really do. I love Ozzy. I just think he's just brilliant.
Yeah, he's just like a man child. You just have to put your arms around him. Sure.
Quiet Riot. Kevin Dubrow was the front man and had a distinct voice of heavy metal, and it was also with the founding member Randy Rhoads, who was the guitar aficionado that he will be remembered for as the guy of Quiet Riot.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, both, sadly, both of them are passed on. Kevin
know.
DuBrow is not alive no longer. He passed away a couple of years back.
I didn't know
actually.
that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'd tell you guys that. So, moving on.
Mm-hmm.
Deep Purple.
Yeah.
Ian, your friend Ian Gillan.
Ian Gillan, yeah.
He is the lead singer, but it's Ritchie Blackmore who inspired many guitar great
That's true, unfortunately.
that who we appreciate today and is very popular. I know that Bryan Adams was influenced by Ritchie Blackmore.
I don't know what popular is. He's a guy that is easy to dislike. I go with Ian Gillan. He's been there since the beginning, right? He's a great voice. He's the guy who was he was Jesus in Jesus Christ Superstar. Like he goes way back, and I just think
Yeah, but you have to remember who else was in that production, and it's not
who else?
Paul Thomas,
Paul Thomas.
porn actor who also porn director, the original cast.
Really?
Yeah,
Jesus
if-
movie? That's
No,
interesting.
he did
You're
Jesus,
being judgmental, man.
Jesus
That's
Christ Superstar.
That's a micro.
The Jewison's production.
Oh, the film.
The film.
No, I'm talking
you're not. Oh, you're
stage.
you're talking to stage.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I was thinking Sir Ian McKellen for some odd reason.
Good Lord. No, that's how far back Ian Gillan goes.
Is he that old?
Yeah, I mean, Jesus Christ Superstar was what, 71? 70, whatever it was. Right around the hair was at the.
Oh yeah, you're right. Yeah.
And so, I think he was the original Jesus in one of the productions. So,
Actually, his mom had it on vinyl, that album.
my
Jesus
sister had it on
Christ.
vinyl too.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What is it in French?
Jesus Christ Superstar. They
You
didn't
can't.
bother to translate.
Jesus Christ Superfist. So, Ian, you're going with Ian as your favorite Deep Purple guy?
Sure.
Mr. Wheeler.
Richie, but not as a human being, but
No.
as a member of the band.
I'm going to go with Richie because I really just know Richie and Ian. I don't know anyone
Well,
else.
you're gonna Ian Pace is the drummer.
Oh, that's right. Forgot about it. I'm going with Pace.
You would love him because he is everywhere still. He's drummed with Paul McCartney. This guy is like Mr. Drum. He just does not tire.
You guys call him Ian Pace. In Italian, he's known as Ian Pace. Pace meaning peace.
Hey.
It means peace. Pace.
Hey, there you go.
It means peace. Because I actually worked with a guy and they said,
I'm
Mr.
going to give him the
Pace.
pit patchy of my mind.
They go, Mr. Pace. He goes, it's Pace. It means peace.
And say, stop spitting on me. Pache.
Pace. Ian, your favorite band, The Runaways.
Yes.
Sherry Curry may have been the most popular member of the Runaways during the late
That's
70s
true.
run.
Of the band itself. Yeah.
But another Italian girl by the name of Joan Jett and Lita Ford had
true.
far more visibility and success as solo artists in their years following the band's split, and I took that off of Wheeler. So Wheeler wrote that comment.
Wow. he's right.
I
Thank you,
credited
sir.
you on what do they call little footnotes?
Well, it's true. Look at what Joan Jett did with, in my opinion, not that much talent. It was just attitude, you know.
She had a good voice.
Okay, but she never wrote any great. I mean,
No, but
she
remember,
had-
you said the look, the voice,
I know.
and the attitude. That's the three things.
And
Whether
she
you're
had-
male or female, it doesn't matter.
She had it all, and
Yeah.
then she got hold of some great songs that people think she wrote that she didn't. It doesn't matter because she made them her own, right?
Exactly.
You know, I Love Rock and all these songs. She didn't write these things, but she, when you think of them, you go, yeah, Joan Jett. She's in the Hall of Fame. There you go.
Yeah. She's in there, and Bryan Adams still waiting.
There you go. There's justice.
Triumph.
I think it's because Bryan Adams doesn't look as good in a bikini.
No, God, no.
The thought is awful.
Triumph. The
Yeah.
drummer for Canadian power trio Triumph,
Yeah.
Gilmore, sang lead or traded lead vocals with the guitarist Rick Emmett on several of their more popular songs, and that's again a footnote of Stephen Wheeler.
He's a librarian here. I think Rick Emmett, I think a Triumph. He's just he's a really brilliant guitarist, and that's it. He's a nice guy, it seems. Plus, he's a great musician.
Favorite member of this band?
I'm along the lines of Dr. Clark.
I'm going with Emmett. Yeah.
Rick Emmett? All right. Genesis. Peter Gabriel was the lead singer and the frontman of Genesis, but when he left, Phil Collins, who was a drummer, became the lead singer. It was kind of a dual role, and he ended up adopting it.
It's true.
I don't really have a favorite member for this band, to be honest. I just know them as Gabriel and Collins, really.
I'm going with Gabriel because he's so creative, and when he's with the band, I thought that's when they had the most interesting music.
His solo stuff is good.
Yeah, he has
Yeah.
2 strong or 3 strong solo albums. It's true.
I mean, it depends on what mood you are in. Like, if you just want some nice background music, Peter
Well,
Gabriel
yeah.
is not what
Yeah.
you want. You want Collins.
Sure.
But if you want to challenge yourself, Peter Gabriel any time of the day.
Well, that's my life every day. I challenge myself, so I guess Gabriel it is. This one here I wrote, and I'm going to see what Ian's going to say because he is the aficionado.
Sure.
The Beatles. We all know that 98% of all songs written are Lennon-McCartney.
True.
Lennon was the lead singer and frontman of the band. In my honest opinion, McCartney was more dominant due to his stability in his personal life and that he always maintained holding the band together. And in 1966, he became the clear frontman.
Well, I totally agree with that. I think from whenever they formed 60, was it, to 66, Lennon, and then Lennon got so messed up on dope and et cetera, then McCartney, held it together. Favorite member of the Beatles, I would say, for me, it'd be Paul McCartney, because Lennon's just not a likable guy.
That's my favorite is McCartney.
Is it? Yeah, I want to like Lennon, and then every time I say that, then a new John Lennon story comes out.
You want to like Harrison too, but
I want to like Harrison too, but again, I just don't get it anyway.
Wheeler?
As a fan of the Monty Pythons, I have to go with George Harrison.
Yeah, really.
Oh, he was in there?
No, he financed the. I think it was the
Yeah.
Holy Grail.
think it was.
They couldn't get financing, and he was the one who fronted the money.
And he made money on it. Good for him.
Always look on the bright.
I mean, as a musician, though, I would go with Paul McCartney, but Paul McCartney in the Beatles.
Nice,
Paul McCartney
well
post
said.
Beatles, he becomes syrupy to the point where he gives you diabetes.
Yeah, I know. He's so unstable after that. Some great songs, but some direct too.
Well, same thing with
That's
Lennon.
not very nice.
Yeah,
Lennon just goes into dark places without McCartney.
I
So
know.
they're the kind of guys they need each other because otherwise they go in really bad tangents.
I forget what music critic said it, but I said it well. He said all rock musicians, like 99.9, seem to write their best stuff within the first 10 years of their career.
Yeah.
You give me how that's been violated, and my eyes will pop open. But that, unfortunately, it goes with the Beatles too. I think John and Paul got rid of all their great songs really before they left. So after they left the Beatles, now and then you get like a Band on the Run or an Imagine. But Imagine, by the way, I think is probably overrated. But anyway, and by the time of Lennon's last album, which I got while he was still alive, and really, I don't think it's that good. Not
Double
really.
Fantasy?
Yeah, I think we wanted to like it because you hadn't heard from him since what, 73? Was it 73?
What was the one that they were naked on the cover?
Two Virgins.
Oh,
It's
Lord.
unlistenable. Don't even think about it. But the first one, Plastic Ono Band, is a great album, and that's his first band out.
That would Imagine?
No, it's not. But it has some great songs. Is Jealous Guy on that? Maybe.
I think so.
But it's a great album.
He did some good. I agree.
But see, Kennedy and I, when we were growing up, unfortunately, McCartney wrote his Liverpool Oratorio. That was
boy.
horrible.
Is it really bad?
I mean, no, it's okay. We can put it in the back then. It didn't really exist, but like easy listening classical. But it is just a guy trying way too hard to sound serious.
I just think if
After
you're gonna,
what he did with Michael Jackson in the early '80s.
if you're going to write classical music, you should be able to read music. I
was gonna say,
I just think by humming it to a guy or going ding, 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 ding on the piano, you're not really orchestrating or writing it. You're just coming up with a few tunes. And,
You know, if they didn't break up, you could take the argument and say that All Things Must Pass would have been a Beatles album. Band on the Run would have been a Beatles album.
or especially songs from it, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And then probably Lennon's first album
Yeah,
could have been.
absolutely.
So they
And they
could
would
have
have been
ham-
better albums, I think.
because you had all four of them in there. You don't want to don't shortchange Ringo because he has some talent and he did produce actually some albums and they turned out to be pretty decent. It wasn't all that
Well,
bad.
he was the first one who had a hit after the
True.
Beatles.
Yeah, so if you look at it that way, and plus they had collaboration with guys like Jeff Lynne was collaborating with them.
Yeah.
I think Clapton did something too.
Yeah.
Yep.
And Billy Preston, come on, how can you not forget Billy Preston? So I don't know if you could turn back time and kind of go talk to them and say, listen, what you're going to do is the biggest mistake of your career, because let's just face it, yeah, you were John Lennon, and you're Paul McCartney, but you guys already had your recognition from the Beatles, and this is just kind of like people said, well, okay, you were here as the Beatles, so we expect you to keep the same pace because you were so good, you know. But then again, like you said, Ian, it kind of dipped.
I just think it did. And one telltale sign is like a great John Lennon song. It's called "Jealous Guy." Well, I've got a bootleg from '68 of Lennon singing the melody of "Jealous Guy," 2 different lyrics. I have a bootleg of McCartney singing the song "Just Another Day." Great McCartney song, post-Beatle. But he wrote it when he was a Beatle. So they had a lot of leftover stuff. And George Harrison wrote, from his first album, a lot of the stuff while a Beatle. So you can argue that their best stuff, too, was written but not produced while they were Beatles. They saved it.
No, you got to have a backup plan.
You have
Exactly,
a backup.
yeah.
Because
They
I guess,
did.
like you said, stuff was happening. They kind of knew.
They knew
things were going on.
The end was over.
The end was over, and it's sad because you went 10 years, 8 hours
Yeah.
of guaranteed studio
Yep.
Yeah.
material, and we'll take it from there.
Yeah.
King Crimson. Lead vocalists are usually the most famous members of bands, but a band like King Crimson had so many lead vocalists that none ever stuck around
true.
long enough to achieve this status. We got Peter Sinfield, Greg Lake, Gordon Haskell, Boz Burrell, John Wetton, Adrian Belew, and current singer Jaco Jasek. Instead, guitarist Robert Fripp has become the band's most recognizable member due to the fact that he's been the band's sole constant member since its formation in 1968. And his driving creative force, it's safe to say that he is definitely bigger than the lead vocalist.
You're going to say, there's not really a discussion here. Yeah, Robert Fripp. He's so aggressive, too, on social media. Well, he's everywhere. I don't know who's doing his stuff.
Plus, the video was with his wife, or
Wow,
I think
yeah,
an
yeah.
entire new generation had no idea who Fripp was.
Until his wife started jumping around, so to speak.
Who's his wife?
Oh, she's a British entertainer. I forget her name. But she is noticeable, put it that way.
Okay, fantastic. The Eagles. This band is definitely a duo when it comes to who was the frontman. It's safe to say
I mean, that's-
it was Henley and Fry. They
Sure.
both sang and performed the bulk of songs, and up till Fry's passing, it was always the both of them who were known as the Eagles. Now it's Henley, but it was already stabilized, and there are no areas
they're an
of
oldies
concern.
band, yeah.
And I put here the Eagles rock.
Well, they do. They're a classic band. It's how about classic rock? It's the Eagles, right? It's like Led
Exactly.
Zeppelin. Yeah, it's a classic rock band. I would say favorite performer. I was Don Henley,
Yeah.
and it's just he just is. Fry was a little cantankerous, kind of a I don't know. He could be mean spirited, and
Well,
Joe
He's a
Walsh.
perfectionist. He's a
Yeah, he's
perfectionist.
perfectionist. Joe Walsh was a lot of fun, but I would go with Henley.
I think you'd go with Schmidt.
Not an original member, but great name.
You like Schmidt.
Yeah, I love his voice. It's so high.
He's got a good voice.
Great voice.
It's one of those voices you wonder if it has something to do with his fly in his pants
I
just
don't know
hitting
what it
something
is.
really hard.
I like when he sings.
Tell you why. Amazing.
And that's all I got.
Thanks very much.
That's an amazing list.
Great.
I kind of hammered out the key ones. We could have gone with others, but I figured these ones here, I think everyone's going to know and
Exactly.
appreciate. We got a bit of prog in there, or classic rock. What else did I throw in
It's
there?
like a great Chinese buffet. You've hit all the good, nice, savory bands.
Yeah, I want to do it that way. So
Why don't I do something a little off left field here, just to kind of roll it up, because I have this in my back pocket. We're not doing any other specialty pieces, ladies and gentlemen, but I do have a Clark comments.
Ooh.
Welcome to Clark Comments. Shut up and buckle up as the good doctor kicks out the jams and offers a selection of questionable, disturbed opinions that are somehow related to popular music.
Now, folks, as of this moment in time, there are these are the top 10 on Billboard magazine. Unholy by Sam Smith, Antihero, Taylor Swift, Cuff It, Beyonce, Rich Flex by Drake, Calm Down, Selena Gomez, As It Was, Harry Styles, Miss You, Oliver Tree by Robin Schultz, I'm Good Blue by David Guetta, is it?
David Guetta.
David Guetta, and La Bachata by Emmanuel Turizo, and Made You Look by Megan Trainor. Now, question. Do you consider any of these delightful ditties to be rock and roll? Perhaps the new rock and roll? That's our subject today, the changing sound of rock. One of the best pieces I've read about this unanswerable question comes from the Diamondback website from February 2021. And they titled it, Will 2021 Bring the Resurgence of Rock and Roll? Here we go. You sometimes hear the saying, real music is dead, in reference to the current pop music. This phrase is the worst, and I agree, but the people who say it aren't technically wrong. Rock brought the world some of its best music, musicians, Elvis Presley, Jimi Hendrix, Janis Joplin, David Bowie, to name a few. And this is a really important sentence, ladies and gentlemen, that struck me. But social media has softened the edge rock once possessed. That's pretty good. Now, when Generation Zers or Zers, depending where you live in North America, think of the fame and fortune that talented musicians enjoy, rappers and pop stars come to mind. Most don't know who Motley Crue is, let alone the insane party lifestyle they had. That does not intrigue a young person. It doesn't make them listen to it. Instead, they can open Instagram and casually see Travis Scott posing in front of a Lamborghini or Beyonce on her private jet. Club Z isn't fazed by famous people who like to party anymore, so the idea of living the typical rock star lifestyle through lyrics is no longer appealing. Think of Joe Walsh. Besides, they would rather listen to someone younger sing about lust and excess anyway. Important again. The challenges that rock music must face to get popular again don't stop there. The standards for mainstream music have also completely changed since the genre's peak. Nice, genre's peak. For example, nowadays it's an added perk if a musician sounds great without auto-tune. Vocal talent is no longer a requirement. Maroon 5's Adam Levine said in a Variety interview that a pop sound is basically necessary to stay current. Classic rock is just not as catchy as Drake saying, quote, I only love my bed and my mama. I'm sorry. I don't know what brilliant song that came from. However, Club Z or Generation Z doesn't care about rock dramatics or vocal talent. Now is the perfect time for a comeback. Maybe it is for classic rock. Young people's lives have been marked by turmoil, political violence, everything else that's going on in the news every day. So maybe classic rock, which had a lot to do with rebellion, can come back. For those looking for more substance, the rock of latter decades is the solution. The lyrics do not sugarcoat the pain. This is from Guns N' Roses, quote, you may not like our integrity, yeah, we built the world out of anarchy, oh yeah. That's from their 90s album, Get in the Ring. People, especially those of younger generation, urgently want to change things, described in rock and roll. New century rock bands like the Killers, Foo Fighters, the Fall Out Boy, all echo those same messages, but struggle more than ever to top the charts, given the changing industry standard. That's a really important point. I just read you who's on top, right? So not a lot of rebellion going on. Luckily, though, the unfortunate state of our world actually might be the perfect time to usher in new rock stars. Nice. The genre has always been about rejection. This seems to appeal to Generation Z, right? But they can't find it. There's still hope. Current artists such as Post Malone and Miley Cyrus have helped to rebrand rock. Unquote. Well, that article, as I say, came from the Diamondback website. I give it to you slightly abridged. So no, rock is not dead. It might return in another form. But basically, it has just changed, like everything else. And in the end, I think it's probably good. Although I'd prefer listening to Led Zeppelin over Miley Cyrus. But perhaps I'm now in the minority. Fine. We'll just rock on. I appreciate your attention. This has been The Good Doctor with Clark Comments.
Well, you think with the wars and everything going on, we need another Jefferson airplane.
Yeah, really. I'm amazed it hasn't happened. But I like some great lines. Social media has softened rock. I thought, yeah, there's a lot to that.
It's often a lot more than just rock.
Yeah, really.
It's good. It's a soapbox for people to get their message out. So everyone that doesn't like something now, they go on a platform to say, I don't like, let's say Jefferson Airplane for some odd reason. And it's like, oh, he did something bad 10 years ago. We should cancel him.
Yeah, hater. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, I think society is they've gotten soft, man.
Well, look at those songs. I mean, not that I'm hip on it, but as a writer says, there's not a lot of rebellion going on there. And yet these young people, the Club Z guys, so to speak, are in trouble. So maybe hard rock.
Although there's a
will come
great
back.
meme going around, which is Taylor Swift sings about her ex, whereas Stevie Nicks
Nice.
made her ex play while she sang about how bad he was.
That's really good. Tortured the poor guy every night. Now there you go again.
That's
Yeah.
true, though. And I don't know. I'm one of those, I guess, the minority, given the fact I'm a Gen Xer. And I like to specify that because I know
It's on your business card.
That's absolutely. I want people to know where I stand because I believe in free speech, and I believe people should be able to express themselves. As long as you're not don't hurt anybody physically, we're good.
Sure.
Words. I don't know why people get offended by words. Words is words, man. And at the end of the day, these artists that we all loved and cherished, they're not around anymore. They can't do what they did back then because the time has changed.
It has.
And especially comedy. Comedy is something. They asked Eddie Murphy, hey, do your thing. He goes, are you crazy? I can't do what I did in the 80s anymore.
No.
It's done. Because Netflix wanted him. And he's like, what do you want me for? So I could go back and fail again? I've already did that in my career. I failed before I made my career. I'm good. See ya. Yeah. And that's it, but he said himself, I can't do the can you imagine Richard Pryor's comedy today, Ian?
No, that wouldn't work.
It wouldn't work.
He goes back to the 60s. No, but I think the article's valid, so I just wanted to wind it up with that.
And it makes sense,
Yeah.
because today, unfortunately, music sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I know it's different. Ladies and gentlemen, that's why we're kind of gravitating around classic rock. I think it's easily defensible because there's some great songs in it.
Like, I have no issues with Taylor Swift's music.
No.
In
I
fact,
like BB Rexa. I think
I like Dua Lipa.
Yeah.
I just, it's for me, again, it's not rock and roll.
No,
it's
exactly.
something else.
Yeah.
But it's, hey, let's just call it.
Plus, that they hasn't been replaced because you have to remember. Let's say if we go back to the 80s and 90s, people were still listening to some of the 60s and 70s
True.
and 80s. Nobody was listening to what was made in the 40s and 30s.
I know.
Whereas in terms of time, like musical flashback, let's put it this way, we're still listening to the stuff from the late 50s, 60s,
I know.
70s in 2022.
Well, look at the sampling alone.
Exactly, sampling alone.
60s and 70s sampling.
So it has, and it still resonates with something deep inside of us, and you would think that it's not being tapped into now because it's not been replaced.
So we're doing something right in this podcast.
We
Exactly.
are.
We'll leave it at that.
So,
say two.
Say two.
Pour moi.
I'm signing off. Kennedy.
Dr. Ian Clark.
Wheeler,
Good night.
adios,
Have a wonderful day. Good evening.
and good night.
Wherever you are.
Yeah, wherever you are.